Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's discussion on the topic that lies in the heart of every democratic societies around the world: freedom of speech. How free is the freedom? I am honored to be your host for this engaging conversation that delves into the complexities and the nuances of our right to express ourselves. Freedom of speech is a fundamental pillar of any democratic society, providing individuals with the ability to voice their opinions, ideas, and corners. However, as we explore this subject today, we must also examine the limitation and challenges that comes with such liberty. Our aim is not just to understand the concept, but to question its boundaries and consider the implication of crossing those lines. Before we dive into this intriguing conversation, let me introduce our esteemed panel of experts who will share their insights and perspective on this critical issue. We have three people with us today. The first, I would like to the first I would like to introduce Muhammad Ali Ramadan as the Law Commission of Indonesia, and next we have Sitra as a student activist, and last but not least, we have Arya Ramadika as part of the PRRI 3. Now, I think we can just move on with the topic, and I would like to ask the first question to open this discussion. Is absolute freedom of speech a realistic concept, or are there inherent limitations that should be acknowledged? Uh, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Alif, perhaps. Hello?
Okay, is my voice clear?
Yes.
Because I think my connection is not in a good condition. Uh, okay, so about freedom of speech, we have transformed our government to allow the citizens to speak to let out their opinion towards the government. Like if there's maybe if there's something wrong about the government or something. But at one point, there should be a boundary that needs to be set. Freedom of speech is a fundamental right that allows citizens to express their opinions and ideas without the fear of censorship or retaliation. However, there should be a limit. This freedom is not absolute and can be limited in certain circumstances. Um, the limitations of freedom of speech in this country is often a topic of debate and controversy. Well, the most common limitations of freedom of speech include obscenity and pornography. I think in most of the demonstrations that are currently happening, there are like apa namanya, quotes that the student activists apa tuh namanya yang mereka mereka bawa gitu, and it contains some obscene and kind of pornographic uh, aspects. Okay, I forgot the example of it, but there has been many examples of pornographic quotes when students or I think many other citizens are demonstrating. That is one of the limitation that should be set because again our citizen should not be based on that indecency. It's very indecent for them to demonstrate with pornographic aspects. Well, another another limitation that should be set is when you is apa namanya is when you let out some curse words towards the government. That should be banned, because, well, you can do it to your friend. You can say some curse words to your friend. That goes to the government as well. I think that is the opening statement of me today.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ali, for the insight. And let's move on to our next speaker. How about we move on to Mr. Arya?
Am I audible, sir?
Indeed, you are.
Thank you very much. As for my first statement, I would make it simple and clear. So, according to our law, Undang-Undang Dasar Negara Republik Indonesia 1945, in 28E, paragraph 3, it says that every person has the right to freedom of association, assembly, and expression. This freedom of expression in Indonesia is already constitutionally protected by the law. But this right is, yes, it is mandated and also protected by the Constitution. But there are some abuses that often occur for personal interest. It is causing harm to others, and technological advancements facilitate the expression of opinions and the delivery of criticism. It is also make it easier to spread hate speech. So yes, the freedom of speech is mandated and also protected by the Constitution, but there are some limitations to it. So it is not right, it is not correct to say or to spread hate speech in our country, Indonesia. And according to constitutional judge, Mr. Wahudin Adams, he stated that freedom of speech and expressions apply to all types of ideas, including those that might be highly offensive or provocative, but it comes with responsibility and can be legitimately restricted by the government. So in this regard, he also said that the government has the obligation to prohibit speech that promotes hatred and incitement, such as restriction, can also be justified when they are implemented to protect specific public interests or the rights and reputations of others. So yes, it is. We are free to speech. We are free to say anything, but we have to be responsible to what we have said, and the government have the obligation to prohibit those hate speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Arya, Mr. Arya, for the insight. And uh, we have one more speaker that has yet to provide a statement regarding this topic, and I would like to invite Mrs. Miss Sitra.
Okay, am I audible?
Indeed, yes.
Okay, thank you, host. So my name is Citra, and I'm an activist on campus, and I would like to give my views on this issue. So first, I want to talk about the freedom of speech. Like, do we have a freedom of speech, and how free is the freedom? Well, so we live in Indonesia, is one of the countries that follow a democratic system. So in a nation that follows a democratic system, the recognition of human rights is the key characteristic of a democratic state. And one of the fundamental requirements for the establishment of a democratic government is a freedom of speech or the freedom of giving expression. So these rights allow every citizen or every of us to freely express our thought, both verbally or in a writing. And also in the dynamic landscape of the academia, where the exchange of idea is the backbone of intellectual development. So we agree and we view the freedom of the speech as one of the crucial foundation. So yes, we do think that we have all of us will have a freedom of speech. And talking about how free is it, addressing the extent of this freedom, we contend that its regulation by the Constitution or the UUD establish a legal framework that protect and guarantee this fundamental right. So the Constitution of the Republic of Indonesia, along with the law of the Republic Indonesia in number 9 in 1918. 98 concerning the freedom of expression in public explicitly address the freedom of speech, that the right of every citizen to express their opinion, emphasizing its role as a fundamental element of Indonesian democratic system. So this legal framework aims to enable citizens or us to freely express our view and actively participate in actively to participate without fear of repression. So we also believe this essence is one of the Indonesian commitment to regulating and safeguarding the freedom of speech reflect its dedication and protection of the fundamental human right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Citra, for the insight. And okay, for now, I would like to invite the speakers, perhaps, to who would like to provide counter arguments or response to the other speakers.
AI. Sure.
Okay, please, Mr. Arya.
Okay, so I want to ask something to Miss Citra. Miss Citra, according to you and perhaps yourself, is freedom of speech in Indonesia is already correct, or you have anything to say about the freedom of speech in Indonesia?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Arya. I wouldn't say it correct, but yeah, earlier I just talked about the freedom of speech, but now I want to also add something about some boundaries and also limitation that probably in the speech. So let's talk about. I want to highlight one case. Okay, I want to highlight one case about regarding the freedom of speech in Indonesia involving a young man, if you know, Bima from Lampung. Yeah, so he expressed his disappointment with the with his stat in Lampung, which is, in his opinion, there was no significant progress in the infrastructure development. And due to the content of his expression, Bima was reported to the Lampung Regional Police for alleged violation of the information or ITA law. So he was accused of spreading miscommunication or hoax. And additionally, Bima's family also was visited by Annapolis. So from this, I believe the freedom of speech is the freedom of speech in Indonesia that not really how can I say, it's not really correct. Like yeah, I know they have a regulation like, or no, I mean like this. From that case, probably we can have like a effect of the freedom of speech to another citizen, which causes that many people for fear voicing their opinion, even thus their opinion are true expression.
So you want to say that Bima is suited by UITE But as what I know, Bima, Bima from Lampung has he has so many supports from other people that his case is not legitimate to be suited um by ITE. And I think and from what I know, his case is already clear, and he is not suited by any law. So it is clear for us that the freedom of speech in Indonesia is working right now. And um and and Bima is not suited because what he say what was he say or what he said in his video is not is not going through the law, and and he is innocent. His he can freely talk about the infrastructure of Lampung, and he can, what is it called? Why am I forget? Oh, and he is responsible with what he said, because what he said is the truth, and he's not lying. So it could not be the case for the freedom of speech, because he said what he want to say. He said that what he said is true, and it is the freedom of speech, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, a very quite and active participation. Question and answers from both Mr. Arya and Miss Citra. But I think we have one other speaker that seems like he's kind of getting left out. I guess so. I would like to ask a question to Mr. Alif. My question is that you argue for limitations on freedom of speech, particularly regarding obscenity and pornography in demonstrations. How do you propose balancing these limitations with the need to protect individuals' right to express themselves, even if their expressions may be deemed indecent, Mr. Ali?
I think the only solution could come from the citizens themselves if they really want to off how should I say, if they really want to deliver their opinion towards the government, they should deliver it in a more concise way, I think, without making things complicated. And despite maybe they think they're thinking that it's just joke, it's just a way to cool off the steam or something. But um at at the other side, some observers who may observe the demonstration may actually, I don't know, like, believe what the sign actually said. So if they really want to say something about the government, just do it in a concise way, that without mixing anything like a joke. Because if they're making a joke out of that situation, it kind of seems like they aren't taking this thing seriously. So they will not be taken seriously of their protests. I think that's what I can say about that.
Yes, I totally agree with Mr. Alif. If the people still make jokes about the the critics that they want to say something like, um it is not happened in Wakanda, it is not happened in Konoha. It is it means that our people is not aware enough about our institution, about our law, about the freedom of speech. It is not critics. It is only jokes. It's not a critics if you say it is only happened in Wakanda. So it is Wakanda, not Indonesia. So if our people wants to talk, want to speech, want to critics our government, our country, they should speak it in a correct way, not in a joke way.
I see, I see. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Alif and Mr. Arya, for the answer. And I guess before we close this discussion, I would like to invite our audiences to ask questions. Perhaps any of our audience want to ask questions?
Can I?
Okay, you may.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so from the speaker's statements, I take it that, so my question is that if freedom of speech, and in freedom of speech, giving statements that contains obscenity, pornography aspects into it, curse words, hate are forbidden by the rules and by the norms, for example, and even one considered as hate speech, then what does define free in free speech? Is it like good speech, correct speech, positive speech, the correct speech, the one that align with certain parties' speech? So if we were about to relabel free speech, freedom of speech, then how do we relabel it? Like if we need to, I'm asking all of the speakers here.
Okay, a very good question from one of our audiences. Let's first start with Miss Citra. Would you like to answer first?
Sorry, Miss Marsa, can you restate your question?
Okay. So basically, from this discussion, we get it that giving statements that in freedom of speech that contains pornography, obscene words, curse words, hate words are considered to be forbidden by the rules and the norms, then what does free mean in freedom of speech, in free speech? Is it like positive speech, good speech, correct speech, the one that is aligned with certain party speech? So if we were about to relabel freedom of speech, free speech, how do we relabel it? Like a responsible speech, for example, or yeah, I'm asking yours of your opinion here.
Okay, so to respond this question, I believe talking about the freedom of speech is allow us to express many version of opinion. But but in this opinion, the freedom is should not encompasses the hate speech, discrimination, and any form of violence. Because I want to emphasize that in this expression or in this free speech, freedom speech or freedom speech is we must be mutual respect to each other. So the one we need use in the freedom speech is yeah, of course, a good speech that not contain about any form of violence.
Um, I want to answer the question. So, what is defined by freedom of speech? If um, the subject that you have said before, like pornography and hoax and something like that, is prohibited by the law. So why those subjects are prohibited? Because during our plenum in the house, we considered those negat those negative things as something that would be bad for our people. So something like pornography is really bad for our children, for ourselves, and hoax is also really bad because it is a lie and it could control other people to think the other way, the opposite way of the correct way. And that's why those are prohibited. So what is freedom? Freedom is not, it's not necessarily that you can say everything. Like um I could say bad words here, but it is freedom for me, but it is not true to do. So we as human could also be controlled. It is not necessarily that we could say anything everywhere. Yes, we could, but we have to see. We have to think. We are humans. We could think it is true or not to say those to speech about something bad. So we have to see the context. We have to think. I think that's all. I hope it is answering your question.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Citra and Mr. Arya. Let's ask one more speakers that we have. Mr. Alif, you may answer the question.
Okay, I'd like to add what have Mr. Arya and Miss Citra had stated that to define freedom of speech, there are some things that we could not say. One of them is an insult directed towards I think not I think in the law it is stated that we could not direct an insult directed towards the president and the vice president. But I think it's not only for the president and vice president, it's for anyone in general, because well you can, well it's freedom of speech, but you cannot insult anyone. And other than that, in our religion, it is stated that you cannot, like, even though your ruler, your president, or your king is very evil, it is still not allowed for us to disobey their commands if it is a good one. So despite so other than that, everyone has their own human rights, and even the government, the president, the vice president, and the DPR, MPR, etc., have their own human rights, and that is one boundary that should not be crossed. I think that's what I would like to add.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Alif, for the answer. And ladies and gentlemen, I think that is all the time we have for this occasion and our exploration into the intricate realm of freedoms of speech uh, has broadened our perspectives and insight. Today, we have delved into the very essence of this fundamental right, questioning the extent of its freedom and pondering the delicate balance that it requires. As we conclude our discussion, let us carry forward the awareness that freedom of speech is not just a right, but also a responsibility. The boundaries we navigate in expressing ourselves are not only legal, but also ethical and societal. It is in understanding and respecting these boundaries that we truly appreciate the depth and significance of our freedom of speech. I want to express my gratitude to our esteemed panelists and to all of you, our attentive audiences, for being part of this conversation. Let this dialogue be a catalyst for our continued reflection and conversation in our communities. Thank you, and may the spirit of free expression always be accompanied by the wisdom to use it responsibly. Good afternoon. Thank you.